Yo, I'm gonna get straight to the point with this video. This is gonna be the most comprehensive blade guide that you'll find on YouTube from a top-ranked Celestial player. We're gonna be covering everything you need to know, including Blade's abilities explained, some effective playstyle tips, great combos to learn, team-ups to try, and a duelist ranked tier list at the end of the video. If you enjoy gaming content and guides, make sure to subscribe for consistent updates. All right, let's get right into it. First, with a full abilities breakdown. Blade has 4 main abilities, 2 weapons, and will be entering the game with 1 team-up. First, his most simple main attack is a left-click slash with his sword, which honestly throws out a few lame swings that do very little damage. It's kind of shocking, really, but you essentially don't ever want to just be throwing out these small main attacks, and I'll explain why later. Next, he has a surprisingly strong mid-range shotgun pistol, capable of actually 3-tapping 250 HP enemies with only body shots, and it has an ammo capacity of 8 bullets. The pistol does shoot relatively slowly, and it is honestly slightly situational because it seems to actually inflict the most damage when you're about 20 to 25 meters away from enemies, but it is definitely a great weapon to help you consistently apply pressure to the enemy team and even help deal with flyers. Next, he has a secondary blocking ability with the sword. This one isn't as strong as an ability like Iron Fist, where he can negate almost anything in the entire game just by blocking, but this ability does reduce incoming damage from the direction you're blocking significantly, and it simultaneously decreases cooldowns for your other dashing ability, depending on how much damage you take. This ability, Scarlet Shroud, is actually capable of getting you out of tough situations, like for example, you are able to block a Scarlet Witch ult, which is easily capable of wiping out an entire squad and even block yourself from getting stunned by Doctor Strange's Eye of Agamotto. His third ability is called Daywalker Slash. This is his main movement ability that also has perks as well. You start with a stack of 2 dashing movement attacks that are on about a 10-second cooldown. It actually have multiple uses depending on what part of Blade's kit you have equipped. One, his dash ability actually stops you from moving forward when you dash right into an enemy with either of the weapons equipped. If you dash into an enemy while you have your gun equipped, it actually stuns the enemy and applies a reduced healing buff to them. And if you dash into an enemy with your blade equipped, you'll hit a multi-slash animation, inflicting tons of damage and also applying a slow movement debuff to them as well, making it harder to escape your close range melee attacks. Also, this ability's cooldown timer can actually be reduced if you take damage while having his block active. So yes, you can essentially play for infinite cooldown resets by cycling these 2 abilities. Next, we have one of his strongest main abilities, Bloodline Awakening. This is essentially Blade's stack building vampire form, where he gains power equivalent to how much damage you do with his blade. His awakening stack has multiple uses. First, it raises your base movement speed by about 15%. Second, it casts an incoming healing debuff to you as Blade, meaning your healers aren't going to be as reliable for keeping you alive while you're in awakened form. It also ramps up your attack speed when your blood meter starts to fill, maxing out at 10, and it grants you temporary lifesteal, which means you can heal yourself slightly depending on how much damage you put out, which is great for helping you sustain yourself while you're in the middle of fights. Now, for his ultimate ability, 1000-fold Flash Step. Yes, they actually added Flash Step to the game, and it honestly works really well. Basically, Blade's ultimate ability teleports you close to a maximum distance of 20 to 30 meters ahead of wherever you're looking when you activate it, and it leaves behind a wake of 1,000 slashes in the air behind him, inflicting tons of damage to any enemies that are in your path. His ultimate ability is omnidirectional, meaning you can point it at the sky or at high ground areas as well. The longer you hold his ability, the greater distance you travel, so make sure you have enough HP when activating it to give yourself some room to charge it for max distance. Now let's talk a little bit about his team up. Blade is entering Marvel Rivals with only 1 team up so far, but I'm sure that'll change in the future. His current team up is with CLOAK and DAGGER and Moon Knight, and honestly, it is incredibly clutch for him. When CLOAK is on your team, basically you get an invisibility bubble just like Moon Knight's, which can hide your exact location within the bubble from enemies. It grants you self-healing as soon as you use the ability, and it also gives you an additional dash outside of the bubble directly towards enemies. Whenever an enemy player is within about 20 meters of your bubble, you can dash out directly at them without using one of your main abilities, and you're actually pretty much still invisible right up until you reach your target. Additional movement ability, passive healing, and invisibility honestly just makes for a really clutch team up, I can't lie. Definitely solid. You can get tons of utility out of this one, unlike some of the other ones in the game. Alright, now that you've had a decent look into Blade's abilities and how they work, let me put you onto some effective playstyle tips from a Celestial ranked player. There are 3 main objectives you want to have in mind when playing Blade, but before I talk about those, let me explain to you a really quick overview of Blade's effective playstyle. Blade is a close and mid-range hybrid character and should be played exactly as so. If you think Blade's shotgun is weak, you're going to be missing out on putting down an insane amount of damage to the enemy team. Remember this for the future because it's incredibly important. You absolutely need to cycle between playing mid-range to help your team's frontline attack and also diving at opportune times to get picks and building ult charge. Now let's talk about the 3 main objectives that you want to keep in mind as a Blade player. 1. Play for cooldown resets. 2. Play hybrid mid-range. And 3. Playing for maximum bloodlust. First, First, you want to actively be playing for cooldown resets with Blade to maximize your kit's effectiveness. Like I said earlier in the video, Blade gets movement ability resets when he blocks damage with his secondary ability. So in order to make the absolute most out of this, it's a great idea to initiate fights by diving, utilizing a lot of his abilities, and then blocking incoming damage in order to get another dash reset so you can use it to either continue attacking or dash out of the fight to play for heals or other objectives. This is going to be one of the huge factors that makes the difference between a gold ranked player and a celestial ranked player. If you can successfully combo his abilities to do maximum damage, negate damage to stay alive, and dive in and out of fights, you're going to put up some incredible numbers and be a hard enemy to fight against. It's that simple. Next, an effective Blade is definitely going to be one that can dominate both mid-range and the enemy backline. Blade essentially has two kits built into his design. He has a close-range melee attack and dash kit, and he has a mid-range damage kit with a shotgun and blocking. So using these two playstyles effectively will be incredibly beneficial for your team. You can secure some kills mid-range when the enemy team is stacked on top of each other, and then at the right moment, dive when you see low HP enemies or whenever you get the chance to split the enemy team up. These are going to be some of your best options in regards to maximizing the utility from his kit. And objective number 3, playing for maximum bloodlust. You're going to notice very quickly that Blade actually simply does not do a lot of damage with his sword unless you're activating his bloodlust ability. So you're essentially always going to want to have this ability active when you're not using his shotgun for ranged damage. One of the best combos to maximize bloodlust is to save your dashes and slash into high HP enemies like tanks to build your bloodlust quicker, which will activate your lifesteal health faster and raise your damage output quicker. You can almost instantly build bloodthirst if you successfully land just a few attacks after a spinning melee dash, but if you only build with normal attacks, it takes about 3 times as long. Now that you have a good understanding of Blade's abilities and how to effectively use them, let's talk a little bit about some potential great team comps to build around Blade as your key duelist. From a celestial ranked player's perspective, for the strategist class, 2 of the best support characters that couple with Blade are going to be both Luna Snow and Ultron, surprisingly, because both of these characters can grant an ability that gives Blade a good buff. Luna Snowflake will be great for helping Blade negate incoming damage, even though you'll have a healing debuff. And Ultron's drone is great for granting shields alongside a passive healer. These 2 healers can essentially give Blade just the extra kick that he needs while he's inside of his debuff healing state to give you a bit of an advantage. And finally, the most obvious is going to be picking up Cloak and Dagger to gain their team up ability. So that should give you a decent idea of what a nice backline build would look like with Blade. For the tank and Vanguard class, Blade would easily work incredibly well in combination with another dive second tank hero like Venom or Hulk, alongside a main shield tank, just like almost every other character in the game essentially. Blade's great for dive assisting because he can build his damage stack incredibly quickly and has multiple movement abilities, which means he is essentially designed to weave in and out of the enemy backline. Venom is going to be my top tank pick for now because he can actually stay in the backline the longest out of anyone in the Vanguard class, and Hulk and Magneto are going to round out my top 3. Magneto's shield is always just a great assist to help backline diving teammates, so it's always a good pickup. And finally, for Duelist, to be completely honest, I feel like this is a bit of a toss-up because Blade is incredibly versatile. He is slightly weak against flyers because it feels like he's not exactly a hit scan character. The shotgun seems to shoot slow pellets that have slight travel time towards the end, or it could just be the terrible ping I get to the test servers. I'm not exactly sure, but also you can kind of realize that he's not going to be insanely efficient at countering dive characters in his own team's backline, like Namor. So my top 3 teammates for Duelist are going to be Namor, Punisher, and honestly a flex. Whoever you can think of that will complement any of his weaknesses. It's really hard to say for the Duelist class specifically, but I think you're definitely capable of figuring out a third top pick. Namor and Punisher will be clutch, maybe even throw in a completely broken hero like Johnny Storm. All right, now here's my personal ranked Duelist tier list. Let's break it down a little bit so you understand where I feel current Blade damage and abilities fit into the game's meta. If you have any questions about my Duelist tier list ranking, feel free to drop a comment below, but I won't get too deep into explaining it in this Blade video specifically. On paper, Blade honestly sounds insane. He has a mid-range gun capable of 3-tapping normal health pull enemies. He has a sword that increases damage per second output based on the amount of damage that you inflict on enemies. He has a lifesteal health drain for increased survivability, and he's incredibly mobile with dash resetting capabilities. But all of these have pretty large shortcomings. At his current damage output, he feels like a jack of all trades character, but master of none. His parrying ability is great. Much like Iron Fist, you can negate a lot of ultimate abilities, but it isn't perfect. Even at 1 HP, Iron Fist is capable of a full deflect, and Iron Fist has better damage output, higher mobility, and a true self-healing ability. His close-ranged melee attacks are dope, but the lifesteal is just not as strong as you would expect, honestly. It seems to give you about 15% health back based on the amount of damage you do. So, for example, if you do 10,000 damage in a match, you'd likely only have about 1,500 lifesteal over health done throughout that match's as well, which is honestly not that much at all. His ultimate ability is great as well, but it doesn't actually guarantee kills and is less controllable than something like Punisher's ult, where you get to directly control where you want your damage to be aimed towards for the entire duration of the ultimate ability. As any enemy in the game, a normal dash ability will get you outside of his tunnel of slashes, so it falls a little short on the ultimate strength tier list category as well. Overall though, he is definitely one of the most versatile in the game, and he will be incredibly fun to play. Tons of movement, tons of sustainability, great weapon mechanics, honestly solid upper B tier, lower A tier character for now. Okay, now you should have an extremely deep understanding of what Blade will look like in Marvel Rivals at the start of season 3.5. I hope I can help you master some mechanics, understand his gameplay tactics a bit, and overall help you become a slightly better Marvel Rivals player. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them below in the comment section. I try to read each and every one of them. Much love, goats, and thanks for joining me in the dojo.